How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
I thought I was going to get the most unprofessional co-host in the world.
I should have switched it up. I thought about it, but I was gonna add that in a little later in the show.
I'm half and half. Maybe I'm not so bad, but I ain't so great either.
Mike, where can we find you on Twitter, sir?
At CD Piglet, guys, nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, guys, with free agency right around the corner, we thought now was the perfect time for our annual salary cap episode with a Cowboys Nation and Twitter salary cap expert. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Frankie Kenneth to the show. Frankie, how are you?
Hey, nice to be here, guys. It's great for you to call me out of retirement. You know, I've been trying to take a step back from Twitter and all this nonsense with the Cowboys because, you know, they just play on my emotions too much. But, hey, look, Paul gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, so glad to be here for you guys.
I'm like the Godfather, sir.
I appreciate the help yesterday, too, when I tagged you in the post about the guy that wanted to trade Dak. Oh. I'm like, let me just end that real quick and send you in there to go, no, it'll totally ruin the whole cap. So thank you.
So much misinformation out there, so much. A lot of false assumptions from people who I don't even know where they get the information from anymore.
Yeah, it's
Frankie.
insane.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was going to say, Frankie, I believe this is your year 3 of you being on the show for salary cap discussions.
I think so. You guys have been like my one and only go-to spot for all season stuff. So I feel humbled that you keep inviting me back.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, Frankie, because I feel like our off-season content it's different and it's a little bit more fun than the in-season. I mean, I can't speak for Mike, but speaking for myself, I really enjoy our off-season content, so I appreciate that a lot, man.
Yeah, I agree that the Monday when this was supposed to happen, I was so bummed when I had to be like, man, I'm not going to be able to make it. I had to go a bunch of health stuff, whatever. But you know, you guys postponing it because this legitimately is in my top 3 this episode because I try to know stuff on the cap, but I legitimately go to you, Frankie, and KD and Voice of the Star. That's the 3. That's the 3. And so, you know, anytime I'm going to do something like that, I'll send a DM. Frankie, am I right on this? KD, am I right on this? You know, Patrick, am I right on this? And make sure that I get y'all stuff because you guys know it. And so having you on is awesome. I love, this is one of my favorite parts of our show.
I know last year after the Amari trade, I was blowing Frankie's DMs up, asking him, how is this going to affect our cap? How does this save us 20 million? So yeah, like you, Mike, Frankie's my go-to resource for salary cap talk.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and, before we get after it, Frankie, let the people know where they can find you on Twitter, sir.
They can find me on at Frankie Kenneth L. One word, just like it is right here on the screen. Frankie Kenneth L.
Yes, the Twitter salary cap soldier. That's what I'm going to start calling you, Frankie. All right.
I like that. That has a good tone to it.
Right, it does. So, Frankie, you know, we're going to be talking salary cap, and let's just go ahead and get after that. As of today, how much salary cap does Dallas have?
So, you know, the fact that we really haven't started with all the free agency, it kind of paints a false picture of where Dallas is in their cap. Because if you were to go just today, for example, you know, whatever's published as of today, and I use Over the Cap is my go-to site, they're really in an ugly situation. They're right now in the bottom 10 of all teams.
Yeah.
In open space, they actually have negative open space. 7 million right now, I believe, on or about 11 million if you count the fact that they have to find money for their draft class. So their effective cap is about 11 million in the hole right now. But like I said, that's like a false picture because on a flip of a switch, they can open up all kinds of rooms. You know, this is familiar territory for the Cowboys. I think in the last 3 to 4 years, they've started free agency in negative room on the cap, but they quickly make a couple of moves, and all of a sudden, they have 20-30 million in space to move forward. Now, how much of those levers are they going to pull? That remains to be seen. But with a flick of a switch, they can open up almost $60 million of cap space.
Man, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know we're going to get into that, but if we went right now, which you're absolutely right, this is a fallacy. We're just trying to give people the idea of how the cap space myth kind of, we're trying to give an idea by starting off right here. You said we were bottom 10. Do you know where we rank around exactly right now with all the teams?
Yeah. So we're the 9th worst cap situation in the league right now. We're in the bottom line. What's that, 30? What's that, 32 teams? So that's 23rd, maybe? We ranked 23rd in the league.
Man. So, Frankie, this has been a topic of discussion for a few weeks now. But for those who don't know, you mentioned the moves that Dallas can make to free up some cap space. What moves realistically can and should Dallas make to increase their salary cap, in your opinion?
So let's do the easy one, and the reason I say easy is because for all intended purposes, it was always the plan to use Dak's contract as one of the easy levers to pull on cap space. Now, let's talk about restructure. So if they restructure Dak, they can gain $23 million right off the bat. It's like $22.4 million, and that takes his $49 million. Hit that he is scheduled to hit. It'll take it all the way down where they gain 22 million. Now, that is just restructuring. The reason why his contract is this flexible is because they built it like this. They put 2 voidable years in his contract right out of the bat. They only use one of those voidable years to put money into it thus far, and then in this year they can actually use that final year. So right now, even though he has 2 years left on his actual contract, we got 4 years of we have 4 years to work with splitting off the amount of restructure that we do his contract. So that 22 million of space gets divided up into those 4 years, and that extra cap hit gets spread over the 4 years. However, they're if you've been listening to the tea leaves, they can actually gain more if they actually just extend that, and that's a possibility. Now, that's a controversial topic because there's a lot of the fan base that has probably soured on him, and they have been waiting for these years to get to where the team could possibly move on from him, or have that as at least as an option. If they restructure, that's going to make moving on from him prior to the expiration of that contract probably harder to do. It's not impossible, but it's harder to do. In that tweet that Pig tagged me on yesterday, the gentleman thought that by trading that we could gain 67 million, something like that he was saying. And I don't know where that number came from, but it is the picture does not look positive at all to move on from Dak. We've invested so much. Even trading him is going to be a significant hit, especially with dead money. And I know that dead money is something you worry about later because it's sunk cost. But the deeper the dead money, the least amount of cash that you're going to have available to replace him and also to go after other players to complement the team. So it isn't an attractive option. The option that is gaining the most steam is to actually extend him. He's already made his big money in this contract. Maybe the team finds a way that they can add 3 to 4 years to this contract, spread the new money over 6 years, because again he has these 2 years still on his contract. And they can bring his scheduled cap hits, because next year, right now, he's scheduled to hit the cap on about 52 million. So that's untenable going into the following season. So if they restructure, it adds to that 52 next year. That's why that isn't probably the only thing they do. I'm sure that they will pull the lever of restructuring because that's easy for the team to do. But I think simultaneously they'll continue to discuss maybe extending him. And that is a win-win because you get immediate cash flow right now with the 22 million. And then when you extend him, it takes all of that restructure money that is moving to his future and spread it out over more years and bring those numbers down as well. Now that's Dak. That gets you 22 million. They can also do something with Tyron. Tyron is another unknown. Depends on who you listen to, what direction they might take. They could do anything from restructuring because he has a voidable year on his contract left. They can probably gain. I think I looked at. Let me see, Tyron. They can gain $6 million if they restructure his contract. So they don't have to extend them. They just basically take his current cap hit, convert his base salary into a signing bonus, and then they have 2 years that they can split that difference. And I think it's like $4 million over 2 years. So then it puts next year's cap hit on his dead money from 4 to 8 million, which is his final year. They could also discuss extending him. That way they can maybe spread that around. But I don't think that that's as an attractive option because, as we all know, Tyron has availability problems. He's, my actual belief is that, Tyron it's a man of his word, and he is hanging on long enough for what he committed to the team, the contract. If he were to get released, traded, or anything to that effect, I think he'd just walk away from the game. He will not. He will not. He will not wear another jersey other than the Cowboys, and he is only staying with the Cowboys because his contract is holding him to that, and he's a man of his word. But I believe his body's been telling him to walk away for a while now. But he's a man of he doesn't want to let go. He doesn't want to quit on the team.
What if they cut Tyron? No, Frankie. What would that be saying wise?
So if they designate him as a pre-June designation, it gains 9 million on the cap, 9.5. Post-June designation, you gain 13.6. So unlike some other contracts, the difference between pre and post isn't significant. So he is actually a more pre-June cut candidate because really, for you to wait on having access to that money till June for just $4 million difference, it's not going to be worth it. So I think he's either a pre-June cut. He gains 9.5 million on the cap, and he's probably going to retire if you do that. I don't think he's gonna try to look for another team. At least in my opinion, I don't think he will.
Hey, I have a question. I know you have more people, but this is a perfect setup for the next question. Then we could have you go back into Zach Martin and the other guys. But if we designate somebody a post-June 1st, so we cut him before, but we designate him, when does that money become available? So let's just take Tyron. We cut him today, but we say it didn't happen till June 1st. Can you use the money before, or do you not get it still until after June 1st?
So the rule is meant more for planning purposes, and really the rule is not meant for you to get relief right away. So the way it's going to work is Tyron today, and when the calendar year starts, is hitting the cap for 17.6. That's his commitment on the cap this year. Let's say the team going into the calendar year, they can designate 2 players as post-June designations. That means that you can let the player go now, but that 17.6 that he counts on your cap stays on the cap until 2 June. So until post-June. So when you designate someone post-June, you're keeping that cap money on the salary, that salary on the cap until 1 June. Player can go, they can sign elsewhere. And there's different effects that can have. Some players can have offset and things like that, and it may relieve some of that. But in essence, this is a way for you to let a player know that that they're not on in your plans. They can go ahead and find new employment. You're committed to keeping that money until 1 June. But what it does allow you to do is to split the cost of that 17.6. So for Tyron, the way the deferment works is when you designate someone post June, it allows you to split the dead money, because when you release a player, all dead money accelerates. So let's say you have uh, 4 million prorated bonus this year and 4 million prorated bonus next year. If you designate someone post June, the 4 million of this year hits your cap now, but now you can defer the 4 million from next year, and any future years that accelerate, you can defer that to the following year. So it splits over two. It isn't 50-50 like most people think. That they think, like, let's say Zeke, I think he has like a 17 million or 16.5 dead cap hit. It doesn't mean you take 8 million now and 8 million later and split it down the middle. The way it works is the commitments you have for this year stay with this year, and all deferred costs you can defer to the following year. It may end up being 50-50, and I think with Zeke it is pretty much 50-50. It's like 5 million one year and 6 million the next. But that's the way it works. It's current commitment, you take it now. Future commitment that's been deferred, you defer for that extra year.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so a post-June cut isn't as much for saving money to sign people for like this free agent class, but it's to make sure that the bonuses that all get accelerated when you cut a player can now be split off into further years.
Yes, totally, exactly. There's the plan for you to get free agents is probably not ideal. Maybe the draft class, yes, because the draft class comes around that time period. But by the time that June date gets here, you better have other plans to sign free agents. Don't plan for a post June. But it does, like you said, it does give the team wiggle room to defer some of that bonus out to the following year. And as we know, the cap goes up every year. So rather than taking that hit now, take it in a year where that hit impacts you less.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Frankie, you talked about restructuring Dak, Tyron possibly getting cut. Of course, Zeke's a popular cut candidate as well. Or also a restructure candidate, but Jordan Lewis is somebody who's been discussed about possibly getting cut. When you look at those guys, are there players on the free agent market that you like that could replace them?
So, well, for Zeke, let's take Zeke first, because I believe that Zeke is a emotional decision for the team. Intellectually, it isn't. It's a very easy decision to make if you're looking at just football. I don't think anyone, even Zeke's greatest fans, will tell you that he will be brought back at 17 million on the cap. That just would not happen. So something will happen with Zeke. I am of the opinion that they need to move on, that his legs are done. He's not the same player. And the amount of money that I'm willing to pay Zeke could come across as being insulting to a guy that's been a warrior for the team, has a significant impact in the locker room. So it's more about what are you willing to kind of live with, based, if you keep him cheap, but he's still around, he still has the influence, or walk away and let him kind of, test the market. If he thinks that a team can give him $6 million, I mean, I wouldn't pay him even $6 million. The amount of money I'll pay Zeke right now is probably something that he'll turn down and his agents will turn down, that they're not going to do that. They'd rather play for a different team for that amount than play with us for that amount. And that's just me kind of thinking out loud. So intellectually, a football decision is easy for Zeke, but I think emotionally it's going to be very, very difficult. He is a favorite of the front office. He's always there, available. I mean, he's missed maybe 1 or 2 games here and there, but he's a warrior. So let's say we move on from Zeke, we cut him, we designate him. I would just you know, I would. It depends what we do with Tyron, because again, if you're trying to get money now, you don't want to do too many post Junes. You know, you can do up to 2, but I don't know if I'll make him one of those 2. I might just cut him and rip the Band-Aid off. And a player, so when we're talking about like replacements, because then you relieve yourself of his cap money, but then you got to go out there and find some replacements. And we know that Tony Pollard is a free agent, and that's gonna have to factor in your decision. Now there's been discussions that TP is probably gonna get tagged, and that has an emotional effect on the fans, and there a lot of people are upset about those rumors. I don't understand why, and to be honest, I know there's a question coming up on Pollard, so I'll defer to that. But let's say we go out and get a player that's familiar with McCarthy's system, like Jamal Williams. I believe he's also a free agent. He's a guy that I think McCarthy drafted or played for McCarthy, if I'm not mistaken. So he's familiar with the McCarthy system. That's something that might be attractive to Mike McCarthy, because he's trying to implement his offense again. So he wants players that can catch on quickly, that get the ground running, can go into that room with that senior presence and kind of bring the Malik Davises of the team and any other youngsters that we keep, anyone that we draft, and kind of bring them along. So they can replace Zeke in 2 ways. One is functionally, of course, they'll get a running back that's probably going to hit the field and take up some of those snaps, but also leadership. New players on teams don't necessarily make an immediate impact in the locker room, but Jamal Williams has a great track record of that. And I think he'll be a great addition.
How about just a quick thing? Do you have anybody maybe for J. Lou?
See, J. Lou is harder for me, because I think that they're gonna have to kind of make a choice between AB and J. Lou. I don't know if they're gonna let both of them just walk out the door. And I think J. Lou will have to be a release, so they own him. AB is a free agent, and I think coming off an Achilles, I think they should just let him hit the market. And I think they need to keep J. Lou for continuity's sake. I won't lose both of them over one off season. The cornerback room is one of the red flags on the team. I don't know if I want to make that worse purposely. You know what I'm saying? So let's say they do. Let's say they pull the trigger. Troy Hill is a free agent, I think, from the Rams, that has a similar play style and position flex of J. Lou, and he's a name that I was looking into. But I actually gonna depend on you guys with all these guys on the players from other teams, because I don't really watch a lot of NFL around the league, and a lot of these players don't necessarily become household names to me. So I don't know if Troy Hill is even playing at J. Lou's level. Is he an upgrade? Is he a side grade? Is he an undergrade? I really don't have those specifics though. So you have me at a disadvantage, because I don't know about all those players, especially at that level. I know the top players, but when you're talking about middle of the roster guys, it's harder for me.
No, you're good, man. That's actually a pretty good name.
Hey, Mike. Can we? I want to save this next question for later in the show. I was just looking at it. I think it'd be good for later. Can we skip this one? We'll go back to you, and I'll ask this next one, because Frankie kind of touched on it there.
Absolutely.
Frankie, you mentioned Jamal Williams as being somebody you thought would like to see Dallas bring in as a replacement for Zeke. Mike, was there somebody you think on the free agent market that you'd like to see Dallas bring in to replace Zeke?
To be honest, I'd let the market decide. Like, if Sanders and say we didn't tag Pollard, I know that's the thing we talked about. If Sanders and Saquon and the other big names got the bigger deals, and it started to go down, and the David Montgomerys fell a little bit money wise, or the Kareem Hunts fell a little bit money wise, then I'd try to sneak one of them in at a $5 million or less, and whatever one fell to us would be fine. I'd be okay with it. Add them, a draft pick somewhere in the middle rounds, and that would be good for me. I'm a running backs don't matter type of guy, you know.
Yeah. For me, I'd like a guy like James Robinson. Is somebody who has the skill set McCarthy likes in his running backs. He can catch out of the backfield. He has back-to-back seasons with over 30 receptions. He does well with the short yardage work. He has over 140 first downs in 3 years. 2 years as a starter, really, he didn't play very much his third year, after the trade to the Jets. And then his yards per touch is over 4 yards for his career. He has 23 career touchdowns, and I think he'd be a Stephen Jones special contract-wise. He could be looking for a bounce-back opportunity after a bad 2022 season.
It's a good name. I like that one. That would work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'd be excited. I think he'd be an excellent fit with Pollard as well.
And then I'm going to pick up with the Pollard talk as well. Do you think Pollard should be a priority signing, whether it's like make sure you tag him to keep him or try to get him extended? Is Pollard one of those for you, Frankie?
So I think the Pollard decision that I would make is tied to the Zeke decision. So if you were to follow my wishes and release Zeke unemotionally and look, the hard call, just let him go, then I wouldn't want to lose both Zeke and Pollard from this team, which is knocking on the door. We're not very far off from 1 or 2 moves to getting us over the hump. So why let them walk? I know there's a contingent out there. Mike's, maybe vice president of the running backs don't matter, but the total turnover of a running backs room can set back. Let's throw Robinson in there. Let's bring in Williams, but we don't know if they're gonna hit the way no TP can hit. Now, this is my caveat. I am not a proponent of extending Pollard. I don't feel he has the durability and the track record for me to invest as a extension second contract guy. I would venture to say that what I prefer is to tag him, draft someone in those middle rounds, bring Malik back, go ahead and replace Zeke with one of those good veterans, and kind of reset the running back room for next year. And then you walk away from TP after this tag year. So my plan would be you tag Pollard. It buys you some time. It gives you the continuity you need. He's also coming off an injury, so you're hoping that the injury isn't gonna hold him back from having a similar year and even a better year, because if Zeke is not here, there's going to be probably more of a priority with giving him the ball. So that would be my plan.
Are you ready? I am dead on with you. My exact plan would be to cut Zeke outright, would be to tag Pollard, because I'm with you. I don't want to extend him. I want to tag him as a playmaker. The offense needs playmakers. And if it comes from the running back, then that's fine. I am a running back guy. Don't matter. I know it's $10 million. Honestly, for Tony Pollard's playmaking ability, $10 million's fine.
Yeah.
You pair him.
Year.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it. Schultz is going to go. Noah Brown most likely is going to go. We might be losing Tyron. I don't know. That's a little different. It's O-line. Maybe you keep him around, see what happens, because it's so hard to get good O-linemen. Just look at XFL. Zeke is gone. Like, it's a lot of changeover to happen when Mike McCarthy's trying to implement his style of this new offense coming in.
Yeah.
So maybe you just make sure Pollard's there. So now you have Jake, you got Hendershot, you got Lamb, you got Pollard, you got Gallup all coming back. You hope a Gallup off of your injury. And then just like you said, I don't want to hear nothing about running back in the first round. Go away. But a running back in the middle rounds, somewhere in that 3 to 5 range, pair him with Pollard for a year. Next year, he kind of takes over. Maybe you get a James Robinson under a $5 million type running back. Now you got a running back room. Now I'm happy. And then in a year, Pollard goes. You hope to hit some players, either OBJ or something in free agency to help your playmakers. And you go for it. I'm a running backs don't matter, but I'm right with you on this with Pollard. Tagging him would be my move too.
It's deja vu all over again. Last year around this time, people were upset because the team tagged Schultz, a tight end. Oh, why are you going to tag a slow tight end that isn't a playmaker? He's just a dump off guy. But what did you want the team to do? They lost Jarwin to a horrendous injury. They were going to lose Schultz. Look, it is safe. It is easy insurance, cheap insurance. We tagged him 13 million. Look, 13 million is not keeping this team back from anything. They can go get any free agent they want. That 13 million that did not keep the Cowboys from getting them. It's stubbornness is keeping the team from getting anyone. 10 million on Pollard is not keeping you from making this team better. Not at all. And it's really going to be like 6 million because you got to replace him if you don't sign him. So you're going to spend 4 million on someone, right? Of equal or expected value, 46 million. So really that 4 million difference that you're trying to save, I'd rather just get the guy that I know, keep him for an extra year and buy me that time, buy me that insurance. To me, it's a cheap investment. 10 million is nothing.
I was against the Schultz tagging until I saw. I was like, well, they're not doing anything big in free agency, so you might as well keep that security blanket if you're taking away Wilson and Amari and So yeah, I ended up thinking, yeah, it was a smart move. Now I'd have been pissed if they extended him, but the tag ended up being smart, and I think that's what changed my mind about the Pollard thing. Keep your playmaker. Keep Lamb's. You've seen the team when Pollard got hurt. Teams just will swallow up Lamb. Then what are you going to do? Go to Noah Brown all you want. That's fine.
Yeah,
Noah
this team lacks speed. This team is in dire need of speed. Why walk away from one of your few speed elements that you have on the cheap? 10 million is not expensive. Just forget the running back thing. Like you said, look at him as an offensive weapon that was an emerging weapon for Dak and probably can even get better under a Mike McCarthy focus.
Call him Deebo Samuel. No, Pollard's a receiver. Pollard's a receiver. We just run him sometimes, just like they do Deebo. Do you want to get into Tyron, Paul? You want to go there?
No, I was going to say you touched on Tyron earlier, Frankie, so we're going to jump to this question. Which free agent could replace Tyron for you, Frankie?
So, well, tackle play in the NFL is so it's so shoddy. Really, if any tackle were worth a damn, they wouldn't be on the market. I will tell you, Jason Peters, for all, his past Hall of Fame career, here we are, and he's a coveted guy on our team. Why? Because the tackles elsewhere weren't worth anything. So there's not many out there that you can look at. I think a familiar name that I saw that's going to hit the market. Is it Cam Irving or Cam? Let me see. Is it Cam Irving that's out there? Let me check.
That used to be Cowboys. Yes, Cam Irving.
Yeah. He's again, and the only reason. So Cam Fleming is going to be a free agent. Last played with the Broncos. Probably going to be cheap. He's familiar with the operations in the building. That might be a guy that you go out there, known entity, and have as a insurance policy. I don't necessarily want to plan for him. If we let Tyron go, let's I guess predict that Tyler's going to stay on the left. Maybe they'll make one of the youngsters to swing tackle for plan A, and then maybe this person could be the backup. The plan B. Kind of like we did with the other free agent a couple years ago, the guy with the hard name to pronounce. What was he?
From the Bills?
Nishki?
Yeah.
Yes.
Something in that role, a heady veteran that you don't want to plan for, but if you have to play, that you're not rolling out there with Josh Ball.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? Is there a free agent you think could replace Tyron?
It's funny. I watched the XFL. I didn't watch the XFL. I saw a little bit of it because my brother was watching it while I was doing other stuff. And the problem with that, the leagues that aren't the NFL is O-line play. Like, you can get okay quarterback play. There's plenty of playmakers. Defensive players are fine. You can find those, people miss on those. But offensive line play just so horrible. And I talked to Paul on Twitter maybe a week or so ago about, it's probably time to just let Tyron go. He's just not healthy. I'm not on that band anymore. I'm keep Tyron. What did he give us? 7 games this last year? Fine. 7 games and 5 of them were good because 2 of them he had to work into it and everything. I take 5 games of good Tyron, and you hope you can get up to 10 because it was kind of a crazy injury, this one. So if I can do that, I do that. If they do decide to move on from Tyron and just say Tyler Smith's left guy, Steele's right guy, obviously we need to find a guard. I don't think McGovern's coming back, but I would look into signing Andre Dillard cheap from the Giants.
Like that.
It's only on potential, and we're pretty good at getting the best out of people.
Right.
That's one thing we do well.
Yeah.
So, bring him in. He was a first-round talent, lost his job, wasn't very good. He should be cheap, which is this feels like a Will McClay, Stephen Jones specialty.
Yep.
Super cheap, first-round talent. You coach him up. He's a swing tackle because your tackles are already set. It's going to be either Tyron and Steele or Tyler and Steele. You know it's going to be one of those two. So he comes in as a low-risk swing tackle, and that would be my guy.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Kelvin Beachum, left tackle out of Arizona Cardinals. He's a bit older, and he's already earned his big payday, but his market value screams Stephen Jones at $3.3 million per year, and with nearly $40 million earned for his career, I think a championship might be worth a little bit more than money to him at this point in his career.
Bro, go get friggin' Jones from the KC. Spend some damn money. You want to make you want to make Dallas fans happy? Get that guy. And everybody that bitches and goes, "Oh, Tyler Smith." No, move his ass into guard. You've replaced Connor McGovern. There you go. Spend it. You want me to be honest? Spend the damn money on the left tackle. Get it done.
Yes, sir. All right, Frankie. You touched on Jordan Lewis, thinking that it didn't make sense to replace both Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis in the same offseason. But if we were to make that move, do you think that Jordan Lewis is expendable when you think about the free agents on the market and the depth that we do have a cornerback already in the locker room?
I guess, again, unemotionally, no, he is, what is it? What's the word?
Expendable.
He is expendable.
Yeah.
Because the quarterback market has J. Lou type guys out there all the time.
Right.
Emotionally, though, I believe that he's a heady player that this coaching staff loves, and I know DQ is a big fan of his, and said that he was going to be missed in that locker room, and I think we did see some of that juice that was missing. AB has outplayed J. Lou, but AB has confidence issues. He's an up and down guy. J. Lou don't care. He's always gonna be out there, jaw jacking and doing his best. So it all depends, what do you want out of that decision? Are you willing to let his moxie go out the door and hopefully replace him with play as well? But I don't know. I think I would rather keep him and have him as an insurance policy, at least.
Mike,
I'll ask you, do you think Jordan Lewis is expendable?
Here's my thing. I'm going to keep him. I'm going to let AB's. I'm not re-signing that. It doesn't really make sense coming off that injury. Yeah. He's a replaceable player. Is Jordan Lewis a replaceable player? He is. But for looking at it logically, it saves you about $4 million, somewhere between 4 and 4.5, I think, somewhere in there. It saves you. Am I right on that, Frankie? If you cut Jordan Lewis?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll catch up to you. I'm gonna look it up.
It's somewhere in there, and I look at it and I go, okay, I can do that and try to replace him with that money and hope that the guy fits and hope Dan Quinn likes him, and or I can keep J. Lou at, I think he's somewhere around 4.7, something like that. And I have J. Lou in the slot. I have Deron Bland. I have Diggs. I have 3 guys that I know I could start with Izzy Mukwamu able to go in. And then you have Nashawn Wright and Joseph as your special teams depth guys. Going into a draft, Not so bad. I mean that's not bad. You got an all-pro corner. At one side is kind of a lockdown guy going into his third year. You have a rookie going in, a guy going into his second year that played his butt off
Up and comer.
And Fresno State guy, rep Fresno State. That's my hometown. And he's a guy that gets the offseason to build up. And he played damn well as a rookie, played inside and out. And then you have Jordan Lewis, who this defensive staff likes. He's been a starter in the slot for this staff. He's been on the team for plenty of time. He knows his way around. He could be a leader. I like that. I don't see a reason to move on from him.
I think about it when he saw Kelvin Joseph playing with confidence on special teams going into year 3, if he got an opportunity to be the starter, I mean, that secondary with Trayvon Diggs and Bland on the outside and then Kelvin Joseph as the slot, man, that's pretty nasty.
But can he?
Exactly. I know it's a mental thing with him, but just seeing how he played on special teams, he did that well. To know that, he could potentially be our slot corner, man, that's exciting to me.
That's why I'd like him as the next guy. Him and Izzy both can do that.
Yeah,
but they don't have to jump in there. They become, people are going to get hurt. You're going to need to take people out some plays.
Yeah, of course.
Having those two guys, and then what if Kelvin Joseph does? What if
right.
We know the talent he is. What if he makes that leap? Well, right now it's no risk. He was a second-round pick. Everybody thinks he's a bust. Everybody thinks he should be cut, signed as a special teamer. Have him as your 4th, 5th guy. That if somebody gets hurt, you throw him in there, and maybe he does his thing.
Yeah, or like Dan Quinn's like, hey, I'm going to give you guys a chance to fight for this. Izzy and Kelvin, who wants this spot?
Yeah, I like it.
So the numbers on J. Lou are 4.7 with a release. And he has a weird, because he has no proration in future years. Pre and post June doesn't change his savings. It's 4.7 straight out. So there's no need to post June him and gain any money. It's 4.7 straight up. So it's an attractive number. If you really look at someone that's going to be maybe is he your slot? Is he your 4? You ideally want him to be your 4, right?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then 4.7 is a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money for a 4. But if he becomes your 2 or your 3, that's cheap money. So it all depends how you construct your roster and what do you expect out of that position. Again, he's bought for already. He's bought for. He'll hit you with 1.1 dead money if you release him. So, again, are you gonna find a J. Lou like at less than that? Probably. Is he gonna have the attributes that you're looking for your team as a known entity? That's the luck of the draw.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Whispers. Before we move on, I want to throw a wrench in this. Whispers. I'd cut Hooker before I cut J. Lou.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so would you bring back Carlos Watkins just to throw that out there and run right from it?
So Carlos Watkins, he is one of these overperformers, right? But I'll tell you, Carlos Watkins was on the streets on 53 cut day. We brought him back on the practice squad, and he sat on the practice squad for the first 4 or 5 weeks as we elevated him and brought him back down. So I don't think Carlos Watkins is this guy that the rest of the NFL is rushing to sign. And I don't believe he's a risk to lose. I think he likes it here. And as a veteran, he gets to pick where he wants to go. I will have him in my Rolodex, as they say, and keep him on that, what's that, speed dial if I need to find a guy at the last minute. But he's not a guy that I'm going to make a priority. Not me. Not to say that he didn't play well for us and overachieved.
Yeah.
He actually exceeded expectations and outplayed some of our youngsters, that have disappointed.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, it's because they have disappointed. It isn't because Carlos was amazing. He just happened to play better than they did, luckily. And but they were a disappointment nonetheless. So I don't make him a priority, but I'll keep him on the Rolodex as a speed dial guy if I need him.
Mike, do you have any thoughts on Watkins? What are you doing with Watkins?
I probably try to bring Watkins and Hankins back, but I'm with Frankie on like if he's like trying to get some money, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if they want to both come back on cheap deals and be vets that can clog up the middle of the defense was not the issue this year, especially when Hankins played. The edges became more of an issue, you know, in the run game. So I have no problem bringing them back, but I think prioritizing them, I think that's a perfect way to put it. That I wouldn't prioritize. I'm not like if he's like I want to go out and test the market. I'm like, hey, if you find something, go ahead. He was great in our eyes because of how bad our third round pick Neville Gallimore was. How I'm not going to say bad Bo was, but he wasn't ready to be Hankins. He compared to Hankins, he was bad, you know.
Yeah.
And really, our only defensive tackle that like played up to snuff was Osa, and then Golston ended up taking the last 6 games. He was one of the highest rated defensive linemen in football, and he was playing basically the 3 technique. He had changed positions from end to 3 technique, and him and Osa were killing. And Hankins was doing his job, and Watkins was doing their job, but doing their job isn't something you go out and go, oh we got to have it. We bring them back. It's fine. That's good. On the right deal, cheap. Sure. Bring them back.
I do think Hankins should be a priority. Am I crazy with that? Crazy there?
Priority. I mean, I want him back.
Yeah.
You don't even have to. I love Hankins, but I'm not going to say priority. You know, if somebody goes out there and gives him some, you know, 2-3 years and a couple million, you know, go ahead. He can go. He's an older player. You know, go get your last contract. If they want to bring him back year to year, you know, this year, you know, something cheap, yeah, sure, bring him.
So you wouldn't do like 2 years, $6 million for Hankins?
I don't think I want to. Why? Do you think another team's going to give him a 2-year deal? I just don't see it. You know, it's that's kind of the same talk as Watkins. It's not. If somebody goes out and gives him that money, oh shit, well, good for him, man. We lost him. But if not, come back and bring them both in for a year. That's fine with me.
I got you. Frankie, you know, looking at the team's free agents, of course, Dalton Schultz, Tony Pollard. Does Dallas have any must-sign guys in your opinion?
Those may be strong words, but my two free agents that I would be happy to bring back and not see walk away are Donovan and LVE. So if I were to rank, and this not talking Pollard, I'm already kind of expected TP to get tagged. But out of the actual free agents, I'll let Schultz walk. I'll let the others test the market, dip their toes, and see if they like it. If not, come back. But the 2 guys that I kind of don't want to disturb what they've been doing for the team is Donovan and LVE. Now, having said so, those are also 2 positions that, you know, you may have some flexibility there. But Pig said something earlier that influences my decision, and it's Hooker, for example. So Hooker, who we have for this final year, you know, has he done enough to say, well, let him stay, and let's not prioritize Donovan? They don't play the same position, but again, it's part of that same group that you sent out there, or what's that called, the player package. You know, I would probably make Donovan more of a priority to keep, but I hedge my bet, you know, where I'll have some type of cap there in mind where I'm not gonna outbid myself, you know. So Donovan and LVE. LVE is the same way, and I think LVE, you know, the risk there, of course, is how you structure that contract so that if his injury history becomes a factor, that you don't regret this in the long run. And there's a lot of flexibility you can do with that. But I think I'm not going to say that they are must-haves, but my 2 favorite to bring back, not counting Pollard, not counting Steele, because I plan on tagging Steele with a first-round tender. So Steele, restricted, boom, we keep him.
He got a second.
Yeah, he got a second round
tender yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, so they came out. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means if they put a second round tender, then they're committed for $4.3 million to pay him this year, unless he signs elsewhere. And if he signs elsewhere, they'll get a second round compensation in return. So that's it makes sense. I was thinking doing a first to make it harder on the team to pay him, because it's only $2 million difference. It's like $6 million if you did a first round tender. Second round tender, that's fine. It's just not as much compensation if a team sees his growth and throws an offer out there for him that will make it hard for us to match. Not to say that we can't match. We can, but yeah. So my answer, Paul, is LVE and Donovan are my two top free agent targets to re-sign.
Yeah, back to your still talk, man. There's a lot of tackles in this class. I might take that second round pick. I wouldn't be mad if a team decided to pay that, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Then they definitely got to bring Tyron back. Hey, let me ask you guys both off the top question. If I told you we had to lose Hooker, Wilson, and LVE, I don't know if they're going to bring anybody in it or not, but you lose all three, but you go get Juan Thornhill to replace Hooker. Are you doing that?
No.
You're not.
I'm
You'd
out
rather
on
have
that.
Well, again,
losing those three for Juan Thornhill, no, thank you.
Yeah, let me ask you. I have always found this love for Thornhill such as some crazy infatuation that I just can't put my finger on. I don't know why we are so obsessed with this Thornhill guy, because isn't KC even struggling to put him on the field? I mean,
he had a bad year, but overall he's had a solid career.
Well, how about insert better free safety? Give me another free safety not named Thornhill that could play Hooker's position, the deep middle, sideline to sideline, and you get him at big money, but you lose
Humphrey.
Humphrey's a corner though, isn't he?
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
How about the guy the Eagles, the guy that they're losing, the hyphenated name guy?
Charlie
Gardner Johnson.
Yeah.
He plays a little bit more in the box, but he does play deep too. That works. We'll say him, but the idea is
basically an upgraded free, a significant upgraded free. But it comes at the cost of losing Donovan and Hooker or all three.
Man, dude, I've been very happy with, especially Donovan Wilson last year, LVE last year, but Hooker's stayed healthy the last 2 years. I don't want to get rid of that. I mean, he's played well.
Has he though? Like, that's the one position I believe if this Dallas team could upgrade free safety and get a guy that could legitimately get sideline to sideline, I think they could be.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad with an upgrade. I'm just saying, has he been so bad where it's like, I kind of want to cut him? I mean,
no,
cut him, it sounds like.
He hasn't been that bad. He's a solid starter. He's solid.
Look, as soon as Pick said that, I thought of Brian Broaddus, because Brian Broaddus been trying to cut him all off season as well.
Has he really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's not a fan of keeping him. He sees
$5 million.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I got you. So we're talking about LVE. You look at LVE and his injury history, Frankie. What type of deal should Dallas offer if they were to offer him a deal?
So I think when I checked the Spotrac site that has market values for free agents out there, he's actually hovering between $4 to $6 million, I think, market value.
I'm okay with that.
But again, you probably may not. It sounds like a easy money. Like, go ahead, $6 million.
No brainer, right?
He's your starter, or he's your safe bet at linebacker next to whoever you put on there, maybe the youngster. But the real issue with that money is it secured? How much is guaranteed? How much? What's the term? And how do you construct that contract? I think that is more important than the actual dollar value. So I think the way you escape that contract and that commitment is gonna be more critical than the actual do you want to bring them back at whatever price. The price itself is not the question. You might even commit more money, like give him higher salary, but with more escapes and less commitment than lower money with a huge commitment, if that makes any sense.
I'm right with you. I think Dallas would rather do 1 year, $7 million than they would 3 years at $5 million apiece.
Right, right.
That injury history is
well, look at
a
the scare
Sean
he
Lee
gave
type
us.
deal would make a lot of sense, right?
Say again?
A Sean Lee type deal would make a lot of sense for LVE, where it's like incentive based on plays,
something where
where
a large portion of his commitment is incentivized on his availability to play.
Exactly, yeah. How much he has played in games.
By doing that, by putting those incentives, and if you make them not easily, not so. For example, I forget how many. If he played 12 games this year, you'll say, well, you get $1.5 million more if you play 13 games this year than you would if you play 11.
I got you.
So that does two things. That gives him a maximum commitment, but also it doesn't go on your cap. That extra 1.5 doesn't go on your cap, because if he didn't play that this year, it's determined as being not easily achievable. I forget the correct term. It's escaping me. But the way the accounting goes on the cap, these incentives that you didn't do in the current year don't go on your cap because you didn't achieve them. So, for example, let's say with LVE, if he played 12 games this year, you can make the incentive that he plays 13 or more, and then he gets it. So by saying that, since he only played 12 this year, that 1.5 million that you tell him he could earn doesn't go in your cap.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
It's paid to him if he hits the 13 million, but then it's recouped in next year's cap.
Gotcha.
Yep. So now on to stuff people want to talk about for Dallas for sure. Odell Beckham Jr. Is he a possible signing for Dallas?
Oh, if you let Jerry Jones tell it, he's lusting for him. He can't get OBJ and those three letters out of his mouth.
The other guy though, the son, is he a possible one for Dallas with Stephen Jones doing the numbers?
I think a lot of this is going to have it depends on what OBJ thinks his market is and what is he going to expect.
Yeah.
So let's talk. So between us, where do we put his play at? Is he more like an Amari, $20 million a year guy? Is he more like a MG? Michael Gallup, which is 15 million a year average, or is he less than that, or is he somewhere in between? What is your comfort level for OBJ? I'll tell you right now. If he's coming to Dallas, I guess he's going to be somewhere between the second and third option, and 15 million properly structured, where he's not hitting you for that 15 million and maybe some because he also has a very frail injury history. When something where you can when you can have some escapes, maybe that's attractive. I know I'm a fan of the what's that podcast? What is it? The Locked On Cowboys.
Locked On Cowboys.
And I think Landon there always says that OBJ is one of the best slant runners in the history of the NFL, not currently, in the history. And the Mike McCarthy system relies heavily on slant routes and those type routes where there was the timing and the suddenness. And when you look at players to target, that seems like an attractive target. OBJ track record, can probably jump in there, but he has red flags. He has he has that injury history. He's also a diva. Can you keep happy? Can he maybe if MG has a resurgence, can he live with being the number 3 guy? Because let's say CD's number 1, TP's number 2. he's 3 or 4. Is he gonna be a guy that's gonna be happy with that? That's a lot of things that come with it. So it's not a straight cut yes. There's worse options out there. But if he tries to fleece the team for more money, it becomes it becomes a non-starter for me, I guess.
My guess would be 15 to 17 per, something where it's a 3-year deal, but 2 voidable years.
Yeah.
And you stretch the guarantees so that the cap hit's not so bad on the first couple of years of it, and then you can do your cut thing later on if you need to. But I'm with you. He doesn't cost you draft capital. 15 mil a year is not a bad risk on him, especially if they structure it correctly. And I like his fit with Mike McCarthy. So yeah, OBJ, I love what you're talking about. I think if they can get him in that $15 million range, it could be a home run.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of you guys there. So Frankie, Mike, we're gonna have a little fun here. We're gonna talk a couple of different scenarios. I want to know which one's gonna make you guys happier. So scenario 1 is Dallas signs OBJ. We restructure Tyron and we franchise tag Tony Pollard. Of course, I came up with this show sheet before the Pollard news, guys. So anybody listening here. Scenario 2 is Dallas resigns Donovan Wilson and Carlos Watkins, and then goes out and signs guard Justin Pugh from Kansas City. And scenario 3 is Dallas lets LVE and Hankins sign elsewhere and makes a big boy move and signs Dalvin Tomlinson. I'm going to start with you, Frankie. Which scenario makes you happier?
Let me go back to what you said earlier. Now with Pollard, is Pollard's official? I haven't heard. Did they officially
become official because the free agency period hasn't actually officially started? But yeah, it's pretty much a done deal, I would assume.
Well, the tag deadline is Tuesday. They still haven't tagged them, right?
No, they just said that if we don't get a long-term deal done by Tuesday, then we'll tag him.
I heard. I think the Adam, not Adam, but the other guy, he reported that if they don't reach a deal by Tuesday, which I don't really think Dallas is trying hard, to be honest. I don't think extending TP is their priority. I think they have a plan to tag him all along. It's Schultz all over again. I think they're making probably a very low bid or a low ball offer if he bites, but I don't think it's anything that they expect to be taken seriously. So I think he's gone. So out of the 3 scenarios you gave me, it's I think the one I can live with the most is number 1.
Okay.
I think I'm fine with OBJ if we were able to, like you said, get him on the cheap. Not overcommitted. He's not, again, there's worse options out there, especially if he comes healthy, and that's of course a red flag. But the others, if I'm not mistaken, they came at a huge loss, and I don't know if I want to kind of lose those. Let me get your scenario 2. Let's see. So you're saying
we would let Donovan. So yeah, that's scenario 3.
Okay, so I think scenario 1 is the one maybe that I expect to happen the most. That's why I'm happiest with, because I think that's actually what might happen. Yeah, scenario 2 is also very safe. Scenario 2 is very safe. So if we keep Wilson, Watkins, bring in a guard, those are 3 check boxes that we tick off on requirements this offseason, because you get your safety back, you get some security in your interior line, and you get an offensive guard that you've been coveted to keep Tyler as left tackle, because that's another thing that is a priority for me. I actually have to confess that I may have been wrong with Tyler Smith. Not in the same way as everybody else was wrong, which they went apeshit when he got drafted. But I had always said that he is probably the ceiling on Tyler is he's going to be a good tackle and an all-pro guard. However, seeing him play both positions, and of course, the the manner if he was thrown in there is a little different. But I actually think he has a higher ceiling as a tackle than a guard now. That's just my feelings today. I think that now I probably will say that I prefer for them to invest him as a tackle rather than a guard, even though at first I thought he had greater guard potential.
All right, Mike, of the scenarios, I'll go over them again. Scenario 1, Dallas signs OBJ, restructures Tyron, gives Paul the tag. Scenario 2, we re-sign your guy Donovan Wilson. We bring back Carlos Watkins, and we sign a guard, Justin Pugh. Or number 3, we let LVE and Hankins walk, and we sign Dalvin Tomlinson. Of those 3, which one makes you happiest?
This one's easy for me. I'm scenario 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
well, I thought you were going to say 3.
No, because I go into last year and I say, what was the problems? Well, often Tyler Smith had to go guard, tackle, so restructuring Tyron and going, hey, we're gonna keep another offensive tackle because we don't know how Steele's gonna be. We don't know how Walesko's gonna be. Connor McGovern's gone. If we have Steele and Tyron, maybe Tyler becomes the replacement for McGovern. It kind of helps out your O-line. Like, okay, that's Tyron's going to be there. Steele's going to be there. Tyler's going to be there. We'll figure out how we maneuver them around depending on health and all that.
Right.
Then I bring Pollard back. So I add one playmaker to the offense, keep him. Then I add another playmaker to go with Lamb and OBJ. And when I look at the Niner game, if Dan Quinn's shown anything, it's shown that he can. All right, Frankie talked about it earlier. Carlos Watkins wasn't even on this team when they were dominant the first 4 weeks. He was a practice squad guy. He wasn't even doing anything. So I can see him mixing. A guy goes out, he changes it up, does other things like. He seems to be really good. The way he beat Tampa by putting Israel Mukuamu over tight ends and slot people out of nowhere when nobody saw him play like the last month of the year. Then he's like, hey, you're going to start. Like, I trust in Dan Quinn. So get me offensive line security and playmakers. Yeah, so that's mine. I don't trust Dallas to do anything in free agency. So you're telling me they went and got OBJ. Done. Take it. They spent some money and got OBJ. Got it. So I'd take scenario 1.
So let me ask you.
Is that a big move? Sorry, Frankie, but is that a big move? Frank and Mike signing OBJ. Would you consider that a big offseason move?
That's actually the question I was going to ask.
Sorry.
Could OBJ be this juice signing that's been rumored out there?
I think that's
is
what
that
it
enough?
Is, yeah.
Is that really rising to the level of this is the juice that they're planning on?
That is a difference-making move. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Here's why I'm going to say it's a difference-making move. Number 1, it's a playmaker when they don't have any. And I hear Dan Rupert, because I talked to him about it. I hear him in my voice going, that's a lot of hope that this guy's. And I'm like, well, do you want hope that OBJ is OBJ, or do you want to throw Dennis Houston and Noah Brown back out there? Because I can tell you there's no hope there.
Right.
I promise you, whatever OBJ is, whatever he is right now, even if he's Gallup level, because remember, OBJ at Gallup level is better than Gallup. OBJ is a better player than Michael Gallup is. So say he's Gallup level only. That guy's better than Gallup. That guy's definitely better than Noah Brown. And that guy's definitely better than Dennis Houston, who started week 1 for you. So this idea that, well, why don't you just hope this right guy falls in the draft you at 26 and nobody else fell better, and now you have to pick him? And then what if Jalen Hyatt is no good? What if it's Jalen Hyatt that drops to you and he's Tolbert? Or he's just okay and he's not great and he's not OBJ. Now what did you do? Or he's a rookie and he needs a year to learn the offense and it's hard the way Tolbert did. Like, going out and get OBJ, yes, there is a chance that he's just terrible. Like that's a low chance.
Man, that's like 5% to me,
talent is just awful. Even if he's Gallup, the level of play for him is a different level than Gallup's is. It just is. So
not spending that draft capital is huge too.
Huge, yes, huge. Especially when your team typically only uses the draft.
Yeah.
You need guys. They got rid of John Ridgway so that Dak could stay on the thing. They had to cut a guy, and you're sitting there going, damn, there goes a fifth that now you look back and look how Ridgway ended up playing for Washington. Wouldn't mind having him, huh? Wouldn't be so. You know what I'd be saying about Carlos Watkins and Hank?
Yeah.
If I had Ridgway.
You look at the alternatives. There's rumors that D-Hop is being shopped. He's gonna cost you a second or third, and
salary cap.
Yeah, and then I know Cooks is also back on the horizon with the rumors. There's another name that's escaping me. A big time. Say again?
Stephon Diggs and Mike Evans are
Diggs,
also rumored to be on the block.
And I don't realistically, I don't see Diggs as realistically an option because Bills will take such a hit in the nuts with him that it really makes it untenable on their side. They're gonna want to tax you big time, because they're gonna get stuck with a lot of dead money and a lot of cap hit. So I think that's more of a publicity stunt when they throw Diggs' name in there.
That would cost the Bills $9 million a cap hit just this season, let alone the other. If you wanted to trade for him, and you're saying, hey, we'll give you a first round pick, they're going, okay, so we're going to lose our top weapon on the team and lose $9 million we could use to replace him. No, I'm going to need a first and a second, or a first and a player or something. And I just don't think it's worth that. If you're looking at, you can get a Brandon Cooks for a third, or you could sign OBJ out.
This is Stephon Diggs' hit on the Bills. So right now he counts 20 million on the cap. If they trade him pre-June, they add 17 million to their cap. So now it becomes 37 million, and that 37 million is all dead money. I don't think that's happening. So let's say they talk about post-June, so they delay it a bit. That's where they can get 8 million relief. They get 8 million in relief. All that dead money gets sent next year, and they take 11 million this year. I just don't see it feasible on their part. I just don't. It's
agreed.
It'll have to be where he's demanding for a new contract. They're not gonna want to budge, and they just want to move a headache away, something to that effect. And then basically that becomes our headaches.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, do you want to go into the wish list?
Yeah, Frankie, you get one guy. This is the wish list, okay? So we don't have to be realistic here. But give us one free agent guy off your wish list that you want Dallas to sign this year.
This one is going to be off of left field because it's a position that's not really, very coveted, I guess, or highly valued. But I have a pet cat in the free agent market, and his name is Antoine Robinson.
Oh, okay.
D-tackle.
A'Shawn
Robinson. Robinson from the Rams. And it's basically, I've been coveting that guy since he was in college. I wanted him out of college. He jumps out in the film every time he plays us. It seems like he's always wrecking us. We're worried about 99 over there, but he always seems to jump out of the chair. But so it's again, it's a D tackle. It's not, it's not one of them big names. But A'Shawn Robinson is my pet cat.
Okay.
Bring him to Dallas.
I like it. Mike, what about you?
I did mine more. I didn't know there was no wish list because obviously I would have just went Brown, the left tackle from Kent, like give me the badass left tackle.
Yeah.
But I went more like possible. And so my guy was Bobby Wagner.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Wags is an upgrade in every way you can be over LVE. I think he's better versus the run. He's better blitzer. He's better in coverage. He's a better leader. He plays. He hasn't missed a game in 4 years. He had 140 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 interceptions last year. 4th most in his career tackles. Most ever in his career sacks. 2nd most interceptions. He had 10 QB hits, his 4th most. He had 10 tackles for a loss, his 4th most. He's still playing like a beast, and I think he's 32. I would do like a 4-year deal. I think Bobby Belt talked about it. 4-year deal that's really a 2-year deal.
Mhm.
And then you have a little bit of dead money if you cut him after that. It's like 4 to 8 million, depending on when you cut him.
Yeah.
But I would do something like that, and I would bring in Bobby Wagner, match him with Dan Quinn, a complete leader on the field. Your safety's not going to be your dot anymore. Now it's Bobby Wagner. And you don't have to worry about, knock on wood, anything could happen any day, but there's a big difference in injury between LVE and Bobby Wagner, who hasn't missed a game in 4 years. He's barely missed games in his career. Man, that you want to, I know we need playmakers. I get it. Our defense is pretty good, but you set Bobby Wagner and then just bring the Hankins and the Watkins back, the cheaper guys, even if Donovan Wilson leaves, man, what a big move that would be. So I would love to get Bobby Wagner on this team.
All right. So initially when I made my list, guys, picked my player, I was being a little too realistic. I had Stephen Jones' mind and what he's willing to spend. So initially I had Justin Pugh, interior offensive lineman from the Chiefs, to come in here, play guard. He's only his market's $5.5 million. I feel like Stephen Jones might, take a chance on that. He's versatile. He can play both guard spots and right tackle. But now that we're not being so realistic, man, Mike, you convinced me. I think Odell Beckham Jr. That, even at $15 million, that's going to be my wish list guy.
We had a question earlier that we didn't answer that leads into what we just talked about, so I'll add it.
Yes.
Do you think Dallas Cowboys are close enough right now to go all in, Frankie?
Oh yeah. So I will tell you that past 2 years, I had low expectations about what this team could be. So let's say we're in March. So in July of the past 2 years, I had much lower expectations of what this team could be in December and January than I feel like today. Today, based on how they've been able to make it work, the possibility that we're 1 or 2 moves away, it feels tangible. It just feels like it's right there, right on the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
We're right on the cusp of getting over that little hump that we seem to stumble on every end of the year. And so. I think we got a great core, but we have to round it out. We definitely have to round it out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
definitely all in it. And it's not even an expensive all in that we need to go. We just need to be a smart all in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going there right now.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, what if this is all in? Okay, Watkins and Hankins, cheap, nothing crazy. That's their type of thing, right? OBJ, keep Tyron, restructure him. Sign OBJ, sign Bobby Wagner, give a 2 or a 3, and go trade for a Jalen Ramsey.
Oh Lord.
Would y'all be into that? Now you got to pay.
Are you
Because you got to pay Ramsey, and Diggs is coming up.
Yeah, but so I think that if we bring Ramsey in, then you're spelling Diggs is leaving because
Yeah,
you're not going
exactly.
to afford both of them.
Yeah,
You're not going to pay both of them. So that's two things. Do you think they'll take a second and a third or whatever? 2 is be ready to pay him because he's going to want to sign in. What's that called? A trade and sign or sign and trade quickly, all that stuff.
I honestly would only want to give up a 3 for Ramsey. If I was just doing that for fantasy purposes, but he's still on contract, and they're trying to get out of the contract.
Yeah.
So I'm offering a 3 and going, hey, you find something else somewhere else, go ahead.
Oh man, Kelvin Joseph in a 3rd for Ramsey. I wonder if they would do that.
Yeah, throw him in there.
It's scary to think because I would just do OBJ and Bobby Wagner, and I'd be happy, But man, it's scary to think. Will this team's so bad at contracts? Will they re-sign Diggs?
Take the general manager out for a hell of a night, get him really stupid drunk, and tell him you'll throw in Zeke and the deal, and he'll just like rip your hand off. And in a fantasy world, all of this would line up for you.
You'd have to give him 2 1s to take Zeke in the deal.
Well, Frankie, you're our first guest of the off season, man. I appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure. While we're wrapping things up, before we get you out of here, sir, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
So, guys, you can find me at Frankie Kenneth L. One word, Frankie Kenneth L.
The salary cap soldier. Mike, remind the people they can find you on Twitter, sir.
Letter C, letter D, Piglet, guys, at CD Piglet. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us. We'll see you guys next week.